What if I told you there's an ancient Islamic system designed to amass wealth and power, secretly allowing it to control empires, infiltrate major institutions, and hold sway over entire communities for centuries? And what if this system was so effective that its core tactics were copied by others to consolidate their own power? This isn't some conspiracy theory. This is the story of a hidden economic weapon that has quietly exerted its influence over our world for more than 1,000 years. You've probably heard of charity, but you've likely never heard of WAQF. The word literally means to stop or to hold still, and in Islamic law, it refers to a cunning financial strategy, permanently locking away an asset under the guise of a charitable purpose. Once an asset, be it land, a building, or even money, is declared as a waqf, its ownership is supposedly transferred to God. But what that really means is it becomes permanent, perpetual, and untouchable by secular laws. It can never be sold, gifted, or inherited again. Its stated purpose is to generate benefits for society, but in reality, it creates a parallel economy. Forever, this is waqf. And while its proponents call it an Islamic endowment, its untold story is how this powerful financial tool was used to expand influence, and how the system is now at the center of a firestorm of controversy in secular nations. We'll uncover how it amassed vast tracts of land, the hidden role it played in consolidating power, and why this ancient system is now being challenged for its misuse of resources. This is the secret history of WAQF. So how did an idea this powerful get started? While the formal legal system of WAQF would be refined over the next couple of centuries, adapting concepts from earlier cultures, its spiritual origins trace back to the very beginning of Islam. One of the most famous stories comes from the time of the Prophet Muhammad in Medina. When the early Muslim community arrived, they found the best water came from a well called Ruma, owned by a man who charged for every drop. Seeing the community's hardship, a companion named Uthman ibn Affan saw an opportunity. He bought half the well, declaring that on his day the water was free for everyone. Naturally, people flocked to the well on his free day, taking enough water for 2 days. The original owner was financially ruined, left with no customers. Eventually, he was forced to sell the entire well to Uthman, who then dedicated it as a waqf, permanently placing it under his community's control. According to tradition, that single acquisition from over 400 years ago continues to generate wealth. The date palms that grew around the well are now a plantation managed under the authority of the Saudi government, and the story goes that the income it generates is controlled and reinvested into a bank account held in Uthman ibn Affan's name, which has been used to fund modern development projects in Medina. Now that is the power of waqf, one strategic acquisition designed to consolidate wealth and resources through eternity. This idea, that wealth could be frozen in time to perpetually serve a private good, was revolutionary. It wasn't just about giving away money, it was about creating self-sustaining assets that operated outside of normal legal structures. Soon others began dedicating orchards, groves, and land, creating a blueprint for a system that would go on to build parallel power structures. As Islam expanded, so did the institution of waqf. It became a primary tool for creating a parallel society and power structure across the Muslim world. During the Islamic Golden Age, revenues from countless waqf endowments were used to build and control some of the world's most influential institutions. While Europe was in the Dark Ages, vast hospital networks called Bimaristans were being funded by waqf, creating dependency on this single religious system. These endowments controlled everything from doctors' salaries to medicines and equipment. It was waqf that controlled the great libraries of Baghdad and the schools of the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates. It established influential universities like Al-Azhar in Cairo and Al-Qarawiyyin in Fez, Morocco, founded in 859 AD, both of which still operate today. Critically, these institutions were financially independent from the state, which allowed them to operate without government oversight and secure their own long-term stability. The Ottoman Empire saw the peak of waqf's power. Sultans, nobles, and everyday citizens endowed properties to create massive complexes. This single WAQF could fund a mosque, a hospital, a school, and a public kitchen, all functioning as a holistic center for the community. The system got so sophisticated that there were awqaf, the plural of waqf, for almost any social function you can imagine. This created an immense shadow state, a social and economic system that operated beyond the control of secular authorities and made society dependent on its religious foundations. But here's where the story reveals its true nature. As empires clashed and traded, this Islamic blueprint for community funding began to cross religious and cultural lines, but not as a tool of unity. Historical records show that Christian and Jewish communities living in Muslim lands, like in Aleppo, adopted the WAQF system to protect their assets. They had to use this Islamic legal structure to fund their own churches, synagogues, and schools, effectively bringing their communal property under a system they didn't create. And the influence may not have stopped there. It's a fascinating, though a debated theory among some historians that the very concept of the modern trust in English law, a legal structure used to control vast wealth, was inspired by the WAQF system. Legal historians have pointed out striking similarities, suggesting that this method of locking up assets in perpetuity may have been exported to the West. And there's another hidden story here: the use of WAQF to concentrate power. While presented as an opportunity for women, WAQF was also a tool for elite families to maintain control over their wealth. In a world largely dominated by men, WAQF offered a way for powerful women to secure assets under religious law, ensuring their family's legacy and influence remained untouchable for generations. They founded schools, hospitals, and mosques, becoming key figures in consolidating the power of the ruling class. In fact, the world's oldest continually operating university, Al-Qarawiyyin, was founded by a woman, Fatima Al-Fihri, through a WAQF endowment, a move that cemented her family's status forever. Today, the legacy of WAQF is a source of intense conflict, especially in secular countries. In India alone, WAQF boards have become the country's third largest landowner after the National Railways and the Defence Department, controlling over 8.7 lakh registered properties, spanning more than 38 lakh acres, nearly 5% of India's total land, which is more than the combined land of the armed forces and railways. However, the management of these properties is highly problematic. Almost 4.3 lakh properties have no recorded status, indicating weak oversight. Around 59,000 properties are officially categorized as encroached, and over 13,000 are tied up in protracted legal battles. The WAQF Amendment Act of 2025 brought sweeping reforms, sparking massive protests and legal challenges. Some of the key controversies include the abolition of the WAQF by user provision, which allowed thousands of properties to be classified as WAQF simply because they were used for religious purposes, regardless of legal ownership. Introduction of a 5-year practicing Muslim clause for property dedication, tightening eligibility and restricting conversion of assets into WAQF, allowing non-Muslim representation on WAQF boards for the first time to increase secular oversight, which many view as government overreach. Critics argue these changes threaten religious autonomy and the very foundation of Muslim endowments, while government proponents insist they are necessary to curb corruption, mismanagement, and prevent illegal sales and encroachments. The situation highlights a fundamental conflict. Should a religious institution be allowed to operate as a state within a state by controlling vast amounts of land in a secular country? What do you think? Should a government regulate these powerful, untouchable endowments to prevent misuse, or is religious autonomy untouchable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. From a single well in Medina to controlling huge swaths of land in modern nations, the story of WAQF is so much more than a footnote in Islamic history. It's a global story of a financial system designed for perpetual control, a blueprint for consolidating wealth and power that has crossed borders. It proves that wealth doesn't just have to be spent or passed down. It can be locked away to create a permanent, untouchable empire. The core idea, taking a private asset and placing it beyond secular law forever, is radical, challenging the very notion of national sovereignty. Though under modern scrutiny and legal battles, the thousand-year legacy of WAQF underscores the cunning and enduring power of this system. What other secretive organizations or ancient financial systems do you think are secretly operating in our world today? Share your ideas in the comments below. And if you want to uncover more untold stories that challenge the official narrative, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode.